Resiliency Within, with host Elaine Miller-Karas, is brought to you by Trauma Resource Institute, Incorporated. Visit traumaresourceinstitute.com.
Welcome to Resiliency Within, featuring your host, Elaine Miller-Karas. In unprecedented times, our beliefs and well-being are put to the test. When we take the things we've learned in life and look at challenges in a whole new way, we learn to develop resiliency, which can then be used to promote healing and personal strength. Now, here is Elaine Miller-Karas.
Welcome to Resiliency Within. I am so excited today because I have two of our really wonderful individuals who help to really bring the Trauma Resource Institute into great spaces in the world. I have today Dr. Michael Sapp and Jeanine Harris, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them before we start talking about what I'm terribly excited about today is we're having our first international conference, and it's going to be October 2nd through 4th. Jeanine Harris has been coordinating it, and Michael Sapp and I have been very involved in trying to invite some extraordinary people from around the globe who have been really working with the Trauma Resource Institute and spreading the word of healing to many parts of the world. So we've entitled today's show, Rooted in Well-Being, celebrating 20 years of the Trauma Resource Institute. And as many of my listeners know, Trauma Resource Institute is a sponsor for Resiliency Within. So we are so proud of them. And many of you know that I'm the founder of the Trauma Resource Institute. So that's an extra little squeeze that I have of delight to know that we're about to embark on our first international conference. But let me tell you a little bit about Jeanine. Jeanine Harris is a strategy and social impact leader with more than 20 years of experience spanning the corporate, nonprofit, philanthropic, and political sectors. Her career has been shaped by a consistent interest in how organizations grow, connect with people, and turn big ideas into meaningful impact. You can imagine when we met her why we were so excited that she would start to work with us, because she has an expertise that I think we really needed. But before joining the Trauma Resource Institute, Jeanine held leadership and consulting roles in brand strategy, communications, business development, philanthropy, and political fundraising, working with organizations including Fiji Water, Brighton Collectibles, which I'm a big fan of Brighton. I think you know that. In fact, I'm wearing some today. Diedrich's Coffee and the Institute for One World Health. Across those experiences, she's developed a reputation for bringing together strategy, storytelling, relationships, and execution to move organizations forward. Now, today, she serves, and I always have to say, what are those initials again? That's right, CSI, Chief Strategy and Impact Officer at the Trauma Resource Institute, where she helps guide organizational strategy, partnerships, fundraising, marketing, and growth. And she's really strengthening our systems. We have so much appreciation for Jeanine. I'm so grateful that I met her through my daughter, actually. I could always tell a little bit about that story, but before I do that, I have to introduce Michael Sapp. So Michael has been on this show many times, haven't you, Mike? And so you are the executive director of the Trauma Resource Institute, and you took over for me, I can't believe it, almost 7 years ago. And so he's been providing leadership in advancing trauma and resiliency-informed approaches that support individuals, families, organizations, and communities throughout the United States and internationally. He went to Myanmar this year and trained 23 people from that country. You were in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so exciting that you continue to grow and expand and also share your wisdom to the world. But I will say that you received your MA in general psychology and PhD in clinical psychology from the New School, formerly the New School for Social Research in New York City. So I know that you loved living in New York, but you decided to come back to California, which I'm so grateful for, because that's how I met you. So I know that you have expertise in both the Community Resiliency Model and the Trauma Resiliency Model. And so you have been exactly the right person to bring this organization forward. I'm so happy to say that. So today we are going to talk about the conference. So Jeanine, you're coordinating it. And I told you I was going to start with you first. And I know that sometimes you're the behind the scenes person, but what do you want to say about our first international conference?
Well, thank you, Elaine, and thank you for inviting me here. That was quite the introduction, so thank you. There's a lot to say. I'm excited to talk about all the details and all the really exciting things that are happening over the course of those 3 days within this next hour that we're together. But, this is really a celebration. October marks the 20th year of the organization of Trauma Resource Institute. So we are having this conference in October, October 2nd through 4th. It's in person in Claremont, where our headquarters is in LA County. So it means a lot to us. And it's also worldwide. So we are offering this whole conference virtual. So there's so much to celebrate. There's so many folks that are going to gather in the room together in person. We have some really amazing folks that are gathering virtually to speak. We have over 60 speakers, panelists, moderators. We have over 20 sessions that we can get into what these sessions are all about. We are going to celebrate Elaine and her legacy and all the incredible work that she has done. It's just going to be so exciting. I can't wait. So there's a lot more
Well,
to talk about,
Well,
but
I just want to say that, I mean, it is a legacy for me, but also the work has been a collaborative. When you say 60 presenters, and honestly, there are so many more that we would have loved to have come and to join us. It has been a really worldwide effort, which is why I'm so excited that, two of the people that are coming, they've actually been on the show, but are coming from far away. Natalia's coming from Ukraine. Leslie Carroll is coming from Belfast, from Northern Ireland. We have Judy Pang from Christian Aid coming from London. I mean, it is, and we have so many people coming from around the country. It's like it's really a celebration for me because when I've gone around the world and met some of these folks, it was I would never have believed that one day they'd come to the headquarters of where we are located in California to celebrate because we're celebrating them. It's not only celebrating what Tri has done, but it's celebrating every single person that walks through that door to share their expertise and knowledge because they've done some pretty amazing things. So, Jeanine, I'm going to go over to Mike now because I think Mike and I have traveled probably mostly together internationally, and now
Yeah.
you're starting to travel with others as I'm trying to scale back a little bit. My
Huh.
scaling
How's
back
that
is
going?
interesting. Well, not as my dear friend Chris Underhill, who I met many years ago, he's a few years older than me. We are failed retirees. So I think we love what we do too much to
Yeah.
completely retire. But
Yeah.
Mike, if you want to say a little bit about, because you've really been on the journey with me for since
Mhm.
gosh, 2010. And I actually knew you before then,
Mhm.
because you happen to have, I think, maybe the good fortune of
Very good
renting
fortune.
the space next to me when we had private practices and I was dealing with trauma, and you thought, well, people deal with trauma and then other things. I know you've learned differently. So
Right.
tell us about your perception of the celebration and your journey with us.
Well, I think about just what was said that we have a lot of people presenting, and that's not everybody, right? This
No.
is just a sample of the work that's being done here in the US and in all parts of the world. And there are so many projects, so many people that we don't get to highlight, that we don't get to have present because of lack of time. And this is a 3-day conference. So it's remarkable to me how much of an impact this organization has had in 20 years. And so we get to highlight portions of that impact, knowing that there's so much more that is also going on that we get to maybe mention and highlight in some way. But boy, I'm excited about being able to do a little deeper dive in certain topics, a little deeper dive and hearing how other people have been utilizing both the trauma resiliency model and the community resiliency model uh, in their communities, in the people that they work with.
Well, and I think that because we're doing a hybrid, we're going to have people in person, but we're also going to have people online. I
Yeah.
was hoping that you would say a little bit about that because we also want people to know that you can still sign up. So
Yeah.
we're hoping that you will listen to this today and go, oh, I think maybe I want to go to that. And maybe you live far away, you can't come to California in person, but you can jump on. And we're using a platform that makes it possible for people to communicate to one another. So
Mhm.
can one of you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm really excited about that feature. Because sometimes I'll go to a conference and there you can't literally talk to other people within the conference, but I think the platform we're using is going to really make that possible.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about that. So we're using a platform called Whova, and it's a really great, effective conference platform. And so, yeah, like Elaine says, you can network in the platform. And I think that's such an important part, right? We're gathering so many people from around the world, and we really want that networking aspect to be really to continue on, right? So we have a network reception for the folks that are in person, but the folks that are online, you're going to be able to network as well, and you're going to be able to communicate, and you're going to be able to watch all the sessions. I mean, you're really going to feel like you're there. We also have a CE component, so for the folks that need continuing education credits, we have that component as well. But I think that's so important part, or that's such an important part of Trauma Resource Institute is the community that we've built and the community that is continuing to grow and to flourish. And this conference, I'm really excited for that networking opportunity. And yeah, through this Whova app, even when you're not on site, you're going to be able to network with everyone. So.
So, Mike, did you want to
Well,
say something about that as well?
absolutely, because I think to that point that the conference, we were very intentional about the conference being both in person and online because, and in our planning of the conference to highlight not only the educational part and sharing and digging in and helping people learn more about how the models can be applied in many different aspects and in many different sectors and in many different ways. The other part of our intention is to create an event that fosters community and connection because that is such a part of our model.
Mhm.
And so to have it in person is wonderful because prior to the pandemic, we did all of our, well, yeah, all of our work in person. So if we wanted to do a training in Istanbul, we went to Istanbul, right? And and that was I mean, I loved doing that. The pandemic shifted quite a bit for us, and we had to shift to online. And I remember in that period just going, "Woo,
Oh, can we do
I
this?
hope
The
this
biological
translates, right?"
model, somatic model, will it translate? And
Right.
we found that it did, which was a surprise for us. I was
It,
worried, as you remember.
absolutely. And that those connections can be felt even though I'm not sitting in the same physical room. And so I think that's what's exciting to me about having it offered in a hybrid model is that we get to also invite people to join us that can't come and stay and be in the physical proximity to us, but they can be in proximity to us online and create that community. And so that Whova platform is really important in supporting that ability for people to communicate and talk with each other, both people that are in person and online.
Yeah, because the people in person can, they still can go into Hoover and they can have
Right.
conversations with people. So, and
Right.
we're so excited because so many people that we've met around the world, we've never met them in the same room. We've never gotten to
Yeah.
give them a proper hug if they wanted a
Yeah.
hug from us, right? And so
Right.
to actually have them there is great, has great meaning for me.
Yeah.
And I think for all of us. And then I also think that there are folks that we've met that we might have been to a training that lasted for 3 days or 5 days, and then they went on to do amazing things in the spaces where they
Yeah.
they live. And I've often talked about Sam Habimana on the show, and Sam is going to be there in person. He's going to talk about what he's done in terms of the research and the really global impact he's having. And we've been going through pictures that we're going to be showing. And we came upon a picture from 2015 when I first met Sam in Tanzania, a young man, and we ended up introducing him to our great partners who will also be presenting, Dr. Beverly Buckles and Dr. Susanna Montgomery. I believe that Dr. Kimberly Freeman will be coming in on Zoom.
Mhm.
We've had these incredible partners, like Loma Linda has been amazing. But just to think that we introduced Sam to Loma Linda, they were going to Sierra Leone. Sam lives in Rwanda. They invited him to come to be part of their team. And to make a long story short, they invited him on a full scholarship to come to Loma Linda, get his doctorate. I just received an email from him today. I don't know if you received it as well, Mike, but he has the good news that his wife and children have just gotten visas to come to the US to
Oh,
live with him because
Oh,
he's now an associate professor at Loma Linda University. And I was kind of like, I get teary-eyed thinking about that. Really an encounter with a young man in a faraway place. He now lives in California and is doing amazing work, was even recognized by the International Society for Traumatic Stress Studies for his scholarship, making him a scholar with that organization. And, we've been a part of that. As I often say, we open doors, but people have to walk through them. And boy, did Sam walk through that. And he's impacting so many people, not only in the United States, but in Africa as well.
yeah.
yeah, absolutely incredible. And I did want to talk a little bit about Dr. Bev Buckles and if we can go in just the impact that she's had with
Oh
this
my gosh.
organization
Yes,
and
please.
and a little bit about the School of Behavioral Health at Loma Linda University. They're one of our sponsors, so we are very grateful for them as well. They're one of our sponsors of the conference. So, we as Elaine was saying, we were looking at pictures the other day of Try over the years, and Dr. Bev Buckles came up. Her name came up, and photos came up so often because of the
Multiple times. Yeah.
rich history that she's had with organizations. So maybe we can talk about that a little bit.
Well,
Yeah, why don't you
Elaine,
talk a little bit about Bev? I mean, I can start talk I can spend the whole hour talking. She's also been
right.
on the show, but let's talk about Dr. Beverly Buckles because boy, has she made a difference for us and for the world.
Well, I can speak really quickly because I know the history of Dr. Buckles' work with Try predates me. But one of my very first entry points into international work with Try was with a training that we went to the Philippines in 2014, and a team from Loma Linda joined us, and Dr. Buckles was with us among others, and I just remember being so um, I don't know, that training in particular was powerful. It was wonderful to be working alongside a team from Loma Linda University, and had subsequently my had the opportunity to do a number of trainings with Dr. Buckles after that. There's something about doing international trainings and being in the field with people that there's a bond that forms. So I have a particular fondness for Dr. Buckles in particular, and the Loma Linda University team in general. But I know that the relationship with them has predated even when I came up.
Well, Dr. Buckles started the trauma response team at Loma Linda University that was has been used by ADRA International, which is their disaster relief arm of their organization. And when she first came and learned about the community resiliency model and the trauma resiliency model, she was about to go to the Ivory Coast where they had a long-term relationship with, because she's been to many more countries than I have. She is an amazing person. And I remember her coming back and she said, Elaine, this really works. I was like, it really works, Elaine. I said, I know it does. I said, but tell me more about it. But I remember she was the first one who told me we taught people the skills and how to access their zone of well-being. And she said these people in the Ivory Coast, where there had been a lot of conflict between different sectors within the country, really there had been lots of deaths, lots of people killing each other. And she said, one person said, well, now that I'm in this zone of well-being, I can look at this neighbor that was responsible for some of the murders of our family, but I look at them with a new lens of compassion. And I thought, wow, that was the first time I heard that. And that was probably 15, 16 years ago. And now we know from the work that many people have done that when people are in that zone of well-being, their resilient zone, that whatever the flow that happens within their body and how it affects their thinking, their prefrontal cortex, that people have more self-compassion and they have more compassion for others. But she was the first one. And she said, Elaine, we have to research this. I said, I know we have to research this because she saw it in action. So she brought me to Loma Linda with her amazing researchers, including Dr. Susanna Montgomery and Dr. Kimberly Freeman and many others. There's Dr. Zephin Lister. There's um, Dr. Archiega. There's so many people there that have been alongside of us. But I have to say that when we were in that first room, they said, well, we could learn that this doesn't work, Elaine. And I said, well, let me know, because if it doesn't work, if the research doesn't bear out, I'll just stay home, stop going around the world like I've been trying to do. And I remember Susanna coming to me and saying, Elaine, this really works. I want to research it. And Susanna now, who's such an incredible world-renowned researcher, has had many, things published to the National Institutes of Health, has been one of the leaders, and she's actually a co-author of our book, I'll say, because there's many chapters that have been co-written by folks. Um, but it's called Building Resiliency to Trauma, the Community and Trauma Resiliency Models. But Dr. Susanna Montgomery, Dr. Lindy Graby, Dr. Kimberly Freeman, um, they, Dr. Beverly Buckles, they wrote that chapter because the research has been so important. So the fact that they're going to be there, in fact, everybody that I mentioned will either be there in person or remotely, is a really incredible honor for us, because we can't do the research on our own models because we're the choir, right? We taint the research, but they can certainly do it. And we've had so many people separate from us from academic institutions that says this very accessible, affordable set of wellness skills had changed people's lives. And thank you, Jeanine. I'm so grateful that Loma Linda is helping to sponsor the conference. I'm just wondering too, are there any other people that you'd like to highlight that are coming forward to say we'd like to support this conference that we're doing?
Well, there are so many presenters, so many stakeholders, so many speakers that are stepping in and excited to be there. I can think of a number of people and my goodness, I could go through the whole list
I
and
know
I'd
it's hard to
probably,
just even highlight just a couple of them, because we want to just highlight
right,
every single person, right?
right, right. And if I can just really quickly
Oh,
double
sure.
back, if I can,
Of
only
course.
because I can say this, Elaine, I can say this,
Okay.
that when I think about Sam's involvement and the work that he has done and the what this, I think, part of what this conference also celebrates is a value system that you yourself have infused into the organization, and that is about relationships and how important
Yeah.
relationships are. And so I think this conference also celebrates that. And I highlight that in the case of Sam because you personally were very instrumental in helping him get in touch with Loma Linda and helping make sure his arrival to the United States was done seamlessly. And I think that illustrates your passion and your desire, I think you've said in the past, your chutzpah in helping people uh,
Yes.
achieve wonderful things. And I think that's also what I see highlighted in not only the sponsors, but also the people that are presenting and speaking here in the conference. And so everyone that is presenting, I think, has a really wonderful tie to the organization that not only highlight that's the tie is not just the model and the work they do, it's also the relationship that they formed with each of us, and in particular with you. And
Well, I know I think I have developed some amazing relationships, but I think it's been our team.
yeah,
When I've seen people go into a space where, it's a different language, a different culture, really trying to come in with respect and humility and not saying that we know everything. And I think that's really important. We've been doing a lot of work internationally in different places where there's so much conflict going on. And I think that I know that sometimes Western approaches to mental health sometimes are very directive. That hasn't been us. We've been so community focused and also relational, going in saying, well, we know that you know much more than we do. Maybe these skills can be helpful, and maybe they can be adapted to your culture, to whatever it might be. And please correct us if there's something that we are doing incorrectly or saying something. Please let us know. I can remember being in Nepal, and I oftentimes will pat people on the head, like a little kid on the head, right? Well, that's a disrespectful thing to do in Nepal, is to do that. And also, when we were talking in Nepal, when they would be in agreement, their head goes back and forth like this. We go like this
yeah,
going forward, right? Those of you that are listening, I was moving my head right to left, right?
yeah.
Which is
Almost
how
like
they
you're
would.
shaking
Yes,
no,
like
right?
almost
Yeah,
like I'm shaking, but that would be an agreement. And in many Western cultures, we nod forward. So it's like learning different little subtle nuances and then being respectful. And that oftentimes making mistakes and saying please correct us, and apologizing if we have done something like pointing our foot at someone. I remember doing that inadvertently in Thailand and going, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry I pointed my foot. And they said, it's okay, okay, it's okay. We give you, it's almost like you have diplomatic immunity because you're helping us
Yeah.
during this time. Although that's not always true, but
Yeah.
people have been very gracious to us and forgiving when we haven't necessarily known the exact right things, or even if the translations, like I think that did happen in Nepal, ended up being very um, not the best.
Right.
So we learned that sometimes we need two or three different derivations of translations, because I think we're now translated in 20 plus countries, 20 plus languages, and we continue to do that. Now we're going to take a short break. I knew that this was going to go by very quickly because I think there's so much more we need to talk about the conference and about our international work. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes, and then we're going to continue this conversation with Dr. Michael Sapp and Jeanine Harris.
The Trauma Resource Institute is a nonprofit organization cultivating trauma-informed and resiliency-focused individuals and communities worldwide. Our mission is to take people from despair to hope. We believe in a world where every child and adult has the capacity to recover from highly stressful and traumatic experiences. Check out iChill, our free app that helps you learn the wellness skills of the community and trauma resiliency models. Go to traumaresourceinstitute.com for more information.
Elaine Miller-Karas' book, Building Resiliency to Trauma, The Trauma and Community Resiliency Models, is available on Amazon.com. The book is about how to cultivate resiliency during and in the aftermath of traumatic experiences. The book also addresses body-based trauma interventions combined with psychoeducation about the biology of trauma and resiliency. Elaine also offers personal consultations. For more information, you can contact her at elaine@resiliencywithin.com. Elaine Miller-Karas co-founded the Trauma Resource Institute, Incorporated. The Institute provides trainings on the models Elaine developed: the Community Resiliency Model, or CRM, and the Trauma Resiliency Model, or TRM. If you would like more information about the Trauma Resource Institute or how to participate in trainings, visit the Institute's website at traumaresourceinstitute.com. That's traumaresourceinstitute.com. Trauma Resource Institute. Build resilience, awaken hope.
It's your world. Motivate, change, succeed. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
This is Resiliency Within with Elaine Miller-Karas. To reach the show, you may send an email to elaine@resiliencywithin.com. Now, back to this week's show.
Welcome back. I am talking to Jeanine Harris and Michael Sapp from the Trauma Resource Institute, and we're talking about a very exciting event, which is the first international conference of the Trauma Resource Institute. It's entitled Rooted in Wellbeing, celebrating 20 years of the Trauma Resource Institute. And we have been talking about some of the wonderful individuals and organizations that are coming and celebrating with us. And we want to highlight a couple more. We want to talk about Erica Coates from Virginia Tech. And so, Mike, do you want to say a little bit about Erica?
Well, absolutely. So Erica will be part of a panel on CRIM and higher education. But Erica, we go back a few years, and Erica helped introduce CRIM into Virginia Tech University. and they incorporated CREM, the Community Resiliency Model, into so many aspects of their campus. It has been infused throughout their campus, especially in their residential life, that then as they did that, another person, John Dance, was instrumental that Erica always talks about in working CREM and incorporating CREM throughout their campus life there
Well,
on
I think
Virginia
John
Tech.
had some really creative ideas. And
Yes,
so it was really John and Erica together that infused the campus. And also many people that kind of joined them and came
of
along with
course.
them.
Right. And so I know we had identified them as ambassadors of the year relatively recently, and we are just grateful for all the work that they're doing to expand the use of CRIM within higher education. And I know she'll have a lot to talk about during that panel about how CRIM can be used in higher education.
Well,
Right.
I think the other thing, oh, did you want to say something, Jeanine?
I was just going to say, including the research that they've done with cadets. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many great programs that they've ran, and John will be at the conference as
Mhm.
well. So we're really grateful for Erica and John's long-term partnership with Trauma Resource Institute, and I can't wait to sit in that panel. It's going to be a
Well,
great one.
and I think that, we talk about cadets, we talk about the military, right? And we're talking about they're learning the skills and it's helping them to learn body literacy, helping them to regulate their nervous systems to be stronger in what they're doing in the world. So we get very excited when we hear the research that other organizations again are doing, just like, we talked about Loma Linda already, and bringing more knowledge to how the models are affecting individuals, families, communities, and literally the world, which I want to talk a little bit about Aspirinet, because I remember when they invited me to come out to, I went to Fresno in the central part of California, and they had a big gathering of their folks. This was pre-pandemic, pre when the Zoom wasn't even invented yet. And I did a community resiliency model. In fact, my older sister and her granddaughter came. I remember them sitting in the audience learning, and I don't think that Kayla had even started college yet. She was still in high school. And so that's a long time ago now. But their executive director really saw the benefit. And he is such a philanthropist and had worked so hard in terms of embracing foster kids and creating a system of support for them. But so what would we say? Would you say a little bit about Aspirinet and who's coming from that organization?
So we have Jennifer Anderson, who is with Aspirinet, who's coming, and I gotta say the care that Aspirinet has done with CRIM and how thoughtful they've incorporated CRIM into every aspect of their organization, all the way through the beginning stages of an onboarding process for new employees. I mean, it's absolutely incredible. So they're going to come with all the information that and just share. And I remember Mike and I had a meeting with them and they were talking about like, hey, do you guys have more ideas of how we can integrate CRIM? And it's like we were so impressed by what they've done. And they're doing newsletters. They're doing, I mean, it's really remarkable. So I am so excited for our participants and other panelists to hear what they've been doing because it's really remarkable.
Well, I don't know if they're still doing it, but I remember a number of years ago, I interviewed them on our global call, and they had these crim moments that would run that anybody could listen to, that they were live and that they had them recorded because they found that those people needed nourishing moments because they worked 24/7. And I was so impressed that they had so many great ideas of how they were having these little community resiliency moments to help their staff be able to be supported with really the difficult work that they do and really inspired work that they do.
Well,
So,
and yes, and what's wonderful about that is that it's a wonderful example of how we learn from our community and how we learn and share that, right? So that particular example, we use all the time in our consultations. We use all the time in our trainings. We reference that work that Aspirinet has done over the years, over the last few years, because I believe that was fairly early on, even during the pandemic, when they started incorporating that and finding success in utilizing that for employee well-being. And so then I think about, again, why I'm excited about this conference is that's what we're trying to do with this conference is we're trying to give opportunities for people to learn how it's been incorporated in different sectors with different communities, with different people and different populations so that that might help them see, oh, I can do that. Oh, yeah, I can incorporate
Yeah.
that, right? And it's that sharing
Yes.
of strategies and ways of utilizing the models in ways that maybe people haven't really thought about.
Yeah, and I think the different sectors speaking to each other is going to be really great. Having
Oh, I'm
everyone in the
so
same room.
excited about that. I think they're excited, the people that are
Yeah,
coming. So I'd love to talk a little bit about Trauma Aware Oregon. They are
yeah.
an amazing group of people that have infused CRIM into their really governmental organization. So would one of you like to say a little bit about Trauma Aware Oregon?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Kevin McLeod and I remember having conversations with that organization and Shannon Ting in particular for, you know, quite a few years ago.
Yes.
And once they took the Community Resiliency Model teacher training, they developed CRIM teachers within their system. Again, it's one of those wonderful examples of them pouring CRIM into and infusing CRIM into their organizational system, Trauma Aware Oregon, where now they have created such a culture of CRIM in their organization that they are getting requests, they're getting approval. One example, let me share this that Shannon shared with us even yesterday that the iChill app, our iChill app that's free, right, is the only app that the government employees are allowed to upload on their or download onto their phone. They got government approval to download it because they have found the models to be so helpful.
Wow, you guys didn't say that to me. Wow.
Yeah,
Just so let's just say something about the iChill app, since we could have people that are listening to us for the first time. We have,
absolutely.
so if you have a smartphone, you can download for free iChill. And if you don't have a smartphone, we have ichillapp.com if you have access to a computer. And I think the other thing is once you can access it, right, you don't have to be online to access it
Correct.
again and again, which I think is also makes it more accessible for people. We
Yeah.
now have it in English, Spanish, Ukrainian, Arabic, Hebrew, Chinese, and Korean, and soon to have Portuguese and
Yep.
hopefully Japanese.
Yep.
We are also working on Creole. We have a very large community in Haiti where we've done work and still meet monthly with our Haitian resiliency model teachers. So iChill app, those of you that want to learn about our skills, you can do it today. You can download it and start listening. Now, my voice is the voice of English, so hopefully you like my voice. If not, you may want to listen to it in a different language and learn a new language. Who knows? There we go.
And I
So
wanted, can
go
I add
ahead.
one thing?
Yes,
I
Jeanine.
wanted to ask,
Yes.
you talked about folks that may not be aware of our skills and CRIM and Trauma Resource Institute. And I want to say that this conference is for them as well, right? So we're opening up, we're having a pre-conference where we're going to have a TRIM plenary led by Jessica Watterson and Elaine Miller-Karas. And we also have a CRIM plenary, which is going to be led by Kevin McLeod and Heather Lilly. So we're really excited to kick off the conference with those, I'm going to call them workshops,
Yeah.
because it's really going to ground everyone to understand like the what TRIM is and what CRIM is. And then you go into all the sessions and plenary speakers and the keynotes and everything. And then you get even a richer experience.
Oh,
So
I think
I
that,
just want
thank
to say
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up because people may say, well, I don't know these things will be relevant for me. Absolutely. I think you'll be able to learn more and more about the models. And even if for some reason, sometimes people can't come to that first morning, um, we'll be talking about the skills throughout the entire conference. And I think what always, just like the people that we're illuminating here on our podcast today, I think we get so excited when we talk to people. And I just did yesterday, I did a pre-record for Voice America that will air at the end of the month. This is August 2026. And I have to say, her name is Julia Wilson, and she is an attorney that's retired. She went to Stanford University Law School. And I really didn't know of her work until we happened to have a conversation um, that was set up by the staff. And I'm so impressed because she has worked in for legal aid, and she's worked with people who need access to legal services in their lives, but oftentimes don't have the funds. And now she's realized as she's retired how much attorneys and the legal system need skills of well-being in order for them to stay in their zone of well-being, especially with all that's happening right now with some of the challenges to the rule of law. And I think, oh my gosh, we have people working in the legal system that are, uplifting their people that they care about with learning skills of well-being. And she's coming to the conference. She's a participant, but she's so excited to meet other people that are doing similar work. So I think when you think about, oh, there's people coming from social services, we've been kind of highlighting that, but also maybe, Mike, you might want to say something about, I believe that Jen Wallace is coming and the
Yes.
work that Jen Wallace does, because I think this is an important sector of all of our communities as well.
Well, yeah. So Jen Wallace is again one of those really wonderful people that we in the past have identified as an ambassador of the year because of the work that she was instrumental in doing to incorporate CRIM throughout the state of Washington in the training for law enforcement officers during interviews of sexual assault victims. And they, having learned the model, having again through that connection with you, Elaine, because I think that was something that started with a conversation you had with Jen at some point.
Well, I happened to be at a conference in Seattle, Washington, and she came and listened to me speak. And we ended up having coffee, and that's kind of how it all kind of grew from there. Yeah.
So that now in the state of Washington, police officers are trained in the community resilience model as it's incorporated in the interview process of collecting information that is really important information from victims of assault that lead to arrest, that lead to justice ultimately, but can be done in a way that honors and respects the assault victim and doesn't re-traumatize through the course of that interview. And so I don't know, Elaine, if that was ever on your radar when you first started talking about CRIM and thinking about how these skills can be used. But that, to me, I go, oh, that makes perfect sense why we would want to utilize it in that way. And I see that in so many different areas, like you said, law enforcement with Jen Wallace. I think of that within, like Trauma Aware Oregon or New Hanover County, the Resiliency Task Force there working with just public employees, government employees, how the skills can be utilized to help wellness within a work environment. Um, I can think of any number of things. I'm looking CRIM with spirituality, how CRIM can be utilized within faith practices and can be used and integrated with faith practices, and to be able to have people come and talk about that. I just,
And we do
again,
have some folks coming in talking about
we do.
spirituality, do we? So can you say a
We
little bit
do.
about that?
Sure, we have Dr. Philip Allen, Aziza Hassan, and Keith Menhene. Oh,
Menachem.
Menhene,
Menachem.
Menachem.
Yes,
I'm
Menachem.
so sorry, Keith, for mispronouncing your name. I practiced really hard on it, but
But
uh,
can you say a little bit about, because we have the Christian faith, but we also have Muslim,
is right, Muslim, and
Islamic.
and and so then it's just a matter of how hearing people talk about how these skills can be utilized with practices that are sacred practices for many people that they may have been doing all their lives, that come from faith traditions that have been around for centuries, and how these skills can augment and be used to help increase the impact of even some of those practices and how they can be integrated.
Well, and I
And
think it was also with Keith. He teaches at schools of theology. He first started
yeah,
with Emory University, which he got permission with the onboarding of new students of theology that they would get CRIM to start out with, because it gave them skills also to work with people within communities and
yeah,
how important that is as well.
absolutely.
We also have a pretty incredible healthcare panel, which is going to be
Yeah.
outstanding. So we have Carolyn Comsey Fowler with John Hopkins. We have Cami Wolf Rice with the CWC Alliance, Beth Fitzpatrick from CHLA.
Children's Hospital Los Angeles.
Children.
And we
And
also have Magdalena Serrano from a
Mhm.
community health clinic and Magdalena has been so important to us. She has given us indigenous perspectives being an Indigenous person herself. And I also want to uplift that we sit on the land originally cared for thousands of years by the Tongva Gabrielino tribes, and we will open our conference with representatives from the tribe, really giving us hopefully a blessing and also offering knowledge about their tribe as we start our conference. So I love that we are also in sacred space and land and acknowledge the caretakers, the first caretakers of this land, and how the Tongva people continue to contribute to our communities. So that will also be part of what we do. But I have so much gratefulness to Magdalena Serrano and all the wisdom that she has imparted to me and to our community, including being part of a response to Maui after the terrible fires there. So,
Well, and
who else would
oh,
you like to? I mean, I know that we can't talk about all 60, so
I know, I
we're
know.
trying to give highlights.
Well, if I may, the other thing I think about from the perspective of the two models, right? We talk about this all the time that the trauma resiliency model is really designed for mental health professionals, body-based workers, and the community resiliency model is really designed for everyone, right? And so we highlight a lot of both models and its work and their work within and how they've been utilized within different communities, highlighting just for a moment. Now, I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. This is how I came to know this model is through the clinical model TRIM, the trauma resiliency model. And I think about the panels that we get to highlight there as far as TRIM across clinical specialties, where we get to have clinicians talk about Malia Gallegos, Jan Click, and her work with over the years with the VA and working with TRIM with military veterans, Jeanine Sneed, and some of the potential for working with TRIM and looking at how it might integrate with new development therapy that utilizes psychotropics, and then also Jessica Watterson, who has been utilizing TRIM for years in private practice across many different sectors, many
And
different
she
specialties.
has so much dedication too, because we live in Claremont, California, to the students of the Claremont colleges, and she's worked with a lot of the young people that have been in sports, and I think
Yeah.
she's developed a particular expertise in that.
Yes. And then I believe Dr. Rose Vick out at Vanderbilt University, as well as Kimberly Wong here locally. And so you'll be hearing, we have a number of panels on the use of TRIM and how TRIM can be incorporated and and hearing how it is incorporated in private practice and clinical specialties.
And that's for
Uh,
social workers, marriage family therapists, licensed professional counselors. Rose
yeah.
Vick is a psychiatric nurse practitioner on the faculty at Vanderbilt, and they have just embraced the trauma resiliency model as part of their training when people are getting their masters to become psychiatric nurse practitioners. Um, and Kimberly Wong, who's worked very much with our equity, diversity, and inclusion aspects to our organization and has been really a critical, important contributor to our community of knowledge, and also is an excellent community trauma resiliency model practitioner. So I think that's important that we also see that yes, it's for our natural leaders, which we call the community resiliency model teachers, for example, and people that are working community that hopefully will come, as well as for mental health professionals that can learn a lot about a somatic-based model that we offer, I believe, in a really affordable way, where people in 6 days of training can really get the basis of working and integrating the skills of the trauma resiliency model into their practice. And people often say, "Oh my gosh, this is the missing piece," and "Oh, thank you so much for making a somatic-based model affordable." And I think that we have tried to do that within our organization. And that brings me to another question. Now, there is a cost for the conference. Can you let us know what that is? And I also want to know, are there scholarships available if people can't afford the full amount? Because I know we always have tried to make everything that we offer accessible. So I don't know which one of you want to talk about that.
Mike, do you want to dive into that?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, so we have a number of opportunities. So if you're coming for the full conference in person, we are charging $350. That also includes cost for CEs. So if anybody needs CEs, I believe we're offering 15 CEs for the full conference. If you want to just come for one day in person, it would be $175. Again, Elaine, to your point, we never part of our philosophy is to make sure that we are affordable. And so if there is a need for scholarship, please reach out and let us know, and we'll work with you on that. For the virtual conference, for the full 3-day conference, $275. And then we haven't talked about
Yes,
this yet.
we have
We
not
also
talked about
have
this.
I don't know if it's tomato. I'm going to say gala. It could be gala. Either way, it's a celebration.
A celebration, yes. So that is going to be Saturday night. So that's going to be on the 3rd at the DoubleTree in Claremont. And that is going to just be a celebration of our 20 years. We're going to have a really great dinner. We're going to have entertainment, and we're going to honor our ambassadors of the year. So it's going to be quite special. And so tickets to that is $75 per person. So all of this can be found on our website, traumaresourceinstitute.com. There's all of the information that you need, what to wear. A lot of people are wondering what the attire is. We've got a lot of inquiries about what to wear. But yeah, the gala we have not talked about, but that's just going to be a celebration, a party. We're going to have a good time.
Well, and I think it's like it's really wonderful too, because many of our ambassadors are coming in person that we've only been able to acknowledge, through the digital platforms. And I think for us to actually get to have them in that room is going to be so exciting for us. And that reminds me, I want to just say, because I know we're going to be running out of time soon. I want to talk about Edwin Weaver a little bit. Edwin Weaver is the executive director of Fighting Back Santa Maria. And we met, oh my goodness, I met him over 10 years ago. He and actually Sunshine, Magdalena Serrano, were in the same uh, classes. And actually, they were taking the trauma resiliency model when we were just developing the community resiliency model. So in their training, we kind of added CRIM. And they have been such incredible ambassadors for CRIM. And we've already acknowledged Magdalena Serrano, I think was that last year. And Edwin is going to be one of the ambassadors that we are acknowledging this year. But Edwin has done so much in helping northern Santa Barbara County, because we sometimes think about Santa Barbara as being, oh, all the rich people like Oprah that live in southern Santa Barbara County. But there's a whole pocket of really, economically challenged folks. They've had I think that Fighting Back started as a result of some horrible gang activity that was going on there. And that's why they called it Fighting Back, that they were going to really try to contribute to the children, to the youth of that community, so that there were options that were not gang related. And he has been such an incredible beacon of hope in that community in so many different ways, and also has been part of our community as one. He's been one of our faculty that's taught CRIM, and I just have such great appreciation for him. And I don't know if you want to say anything, Mike, because you've worked closely with Edwin as well.
It, again, yet another wonderful example of when learning the skills and incorporating it in the work that they're doing, which is so important. And I the way you talked about that, Elaine, I think highlights one aspect of what we often say is the what else is also true. We work in times of stress, times of trauma, times of incredible challenge, and sometimes times of great horror. And here's an organization that saw an issue that they wanted to fix and help alleviate and mitigate because of the damage that was being done in their community. And they're using these skills in helping them do that. And so the what else is also true is that we have so many people that are trying to help and are trying to incorporate these skills in a way that is meaningful and will alleviate a lot of distress. And I see that so much because we're in a very divisive time right now, at least here in the US. And I want to celebrate the work that we see so many people doing that reflect the good work of this organization.
Well, and thank you for your leadership along those lines. And I just want to say, we'll only have a couple of minutes left. We also have Dr. Brendan Ozawa Silva, who's coming to us from the Center of Contemplative Science from Emory University. I have so much gratitude towards Brendan because he's the person who introduced me to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and took me to India, recognized our work being important for children all over the world, that we have we have impacted more than 1 million children from our involvement with the social, emotional, ethical learning program. And so I'm so proud that he's going to be there at the conference as well. But I also want to mention Krista Tanari, because she's now a consultant and works with TRI. And we're creating, one of the things about the conference in these last few minutes is we're going to be talking about the future. And one of the future items is the Community Resiliency Model as a comprehensive system-wide program for schools. Notice I didn't say curriculum, I said system-wide program, because it's the integration of the concepts as a common language to remember for our children, for teachers, for staff, for those precious children of the world, that we can help them learn body literacy and we can really help them change their lives and empower them. So as we're ending today, I want to do a deep bow to both of you for all the great work that you're doing, and also to all of TRI staff that are not with us today, because they're every single person. We've mentioned some of them, and we will acknowledge them at the conference as well. And again, remember, our listeners, what else is true in life? That we have hardship, we have suffering, but we also can lean into what else is true that can be our strength and what's helped us get through difficult times, whether it's our friends, our family, our faith, and what people often say are their fur babies, whether it's a cow in Rwanda or a dog, a kitten, whatever it might be, that we have many beings on the planet that help nurture us. So until we meet again, this is Elaine Miller-Karas signing off for Resiliency Within. Thank you, Mike and Jeanine.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for Resiliency Within. Please tune in again next time for another edition featuring your host, Elaine Miller-Karas. We'll talk again soon.